tutorial. Today, I thought I would go over some backwards movements. So many people want to learn how to do a backflip. Usually that's what you go for first, right? I learned my backflip first. But there are a lot of movements out there that can improve your backwards awareness, or at least just get you comfortable with going backwards. I would like to share a few of those with you today. So the first movement I wanted to talk about today is not exactly a backwards movement. It's actually a strength movement, but it will allow you to get into position for the next 2 or 3 movements. It's called the Korean dip. It is being able to perform a dip with the bar behind your back. So regular dip at the sides, front dip in front of you, Korean dip, bar behind you. This is by no means necessary to do any of these backwards movements. It will just simply help you to get into position. To perform the Korean dip, test first, can you hold on to the bar and just kind of hang there and rock? If so, then you might be ready to start the pushing. The trick of the Korean dip is that the push comes at the momentum point. So you're actually, instead of just pushing immediately, you're actually going to rock back one time, and as you rock forward, you push, utilizing the momentum of the swing. In this movement, we're going to use 2 positionings, both pushing up to our lower back and pushing up all the way to a seated position. Being able to do a Korean dip to a seated position will help you anytime you need to sit on the bar. Rather than having to climb up front ways all clumsily and then try to turn around and sit down on the bar, the Korean dip allows you to sit on the bar pretty comfortably, pretty easily. Again, this is a strength movement, so it's not necessarily something you're going to need to go forward with the next 4 or 5 movements that we talk about. Okay, so our first backwards movement is going to be something I just am calling a backwards rail flip. It is simply assuming the Korean dip position, grabbing the bar behind your back, pushing till the bar is at your lower back, and then falling backwards. You are going to hold on to the bar the entire time. Do not let go. As long as you don't let go of the bar, this really should not be a dangerous move at all. When we see the ground, we put our feet back down on the ground. If you are too high on your back, then you won't actually be able to make it around. You'll lean back and you'll stop, and then you'll just come back down to your feet again. You won't actually be able to flip over. So do make sure that you're getting to your lower back, kind of your sacrum. This is also going to be a little bit healthier for your back too. Being nearer to your hip bone will be better for the arching back than being up high where you're really breaking yourself. Before you try this rail backflip movement, it's probably good to stretch. So I would say doing some bridge poses, maybe finding something you can lay your lower back across so you can stretch out your back before you put all your weight onto this bar. Also, if you feel uncomfortable about really any of these moves today, you can always use a spotter. Alright, next up, the third movement in our series, I'm calling rail BackHandSpring. Once you're comfortable enough with your rail backflip that you know when to drive your legs over and land, you're going to be starting to try to spot the ground. Look at the ground before your feet hit the ground. There will be some fear associated with letting go of the bar. What I recommend before you try letting go of the bar is seeing if you can just lay yourself across the bar and just stay there on your back. Yes, there is going to be some pressure on your lower back. Please don't hurt yourself. But you're just trying to see, can I lay here flat on my back on this bar? Once you're comfortable with being able to lay and knowing you're not going to fall backwards onto your head, now you can practice slowly trying to take your arms off just for even seconds at a time. Just see if you can stay there and you can loosen your grip. Once you're able to do this, it's just going to be a matter of commitment, of looking back for the ground while you reach your hands towards the ground. This movement can be a little scary the first time you're letting go of your hands, but as you do it, of course, you'll get more and more comfortable with it, and you'll get faster at it. No reason in this movement to go fast in the beginning. You can always go slow and then speed up later. This is not a movement that needs to be done fast the very first time. The rail back handspring is aptly named because it works great on any handrail. They're usually like the perfect height to send yourself over and have the perfect amount of room to put your hands underneath you and catch. Okay, the fourth backwards movement I wanted to talk about is something called a baby knee giant. It will be performed by sitting on the bar and falling backwards while you hold on to the bar. The exit of this move is very much like a skin the cat. So if you know what this movement is and you try to skin the cat a few times, you'll know exactly what it feels like to come out of this baby knee swing. Now I use the Korean dip to bring myself into the seated position while continuing to hold onto the bar, overhand, not underhand. I fall backward. Continue to hold on and bring your feet out to touch the ground. You should be looking for the ground while you go back. Of course, this movement's going to happen quickly, so at first you may not see the ground. That's okay. You can just kind of hang there on the bar. This is key. This is paramount to remember. If you do not let go of the bar, then you cannot fall on your face. So just hold on to that bar the very first time like it's your lifeline. If you are scared of going backwards too fast, one thing you can do with this baby knee giant, besides having a spotter, which is always a good idea, is to tuck in deep so that when you go backwards, you will go backwards much slower. If you sit up tall with your chest up, you'll fall back much faster. So if you can punch down, round your back, and then just slowly go backwards, you will have a much slower rotation going backwards, and that might allow you to feel safer in the movement. Now, the last and final movement is something Jason Paul calls the sausage flip. Since I have no better name for it, that's what I will call it as well. The sausage flip consists of sitting on the edge of a wall, putting your hands on that wall, and falling backwards, creating kind of a backflip. This movement is extremely similar to the second movement that we did today, the rail backflip. It feels very much the same, but there are a couple of rules. Rule number one is no thumbs under the wall, only on top of the wall. Very important. If you fall back, you could try to stop yourself with your thumbs, which will result in you falling on your head, or you could break your thumbs. So thumbs always on top of the wall, guys. Second rule is keeping chin to chest or head down, however you want to say that. If you do not, you could risk slamming the back of your head into a wall. And if you're doing it on concrete, that will not feel very good. So keep your chin to your chest to keep your head out of risk. This should be only your back making contact with the wall. So once you have your chin into your chest, you got your thumbs ready on it, you're gonna slowly start to lean back and just don't let go of the wall. Just like with the rail backflip, your hands are your lifeline. As long as they're holding onto the wall, you will flip around just fine. I would definitely recommend a spotter for this movement because it can be scary and a bit mental. So having someone there to support you, knowing you're not gonna fall on your head, really helps. I would break this into two levels. The first level begins from something where you're sitting flat, where your heels are at the same level as your butt. This will create less rotational force and therefore be a bit easier to control. The second level would be having your feet below your butt, which will cause a more whip-like effect and will make your rotation overall faster and therefore possibly a bit more dangerous. If you know what you're doing in the move, then it's not going to be dangerous. But if you don't, you could have some bad repercussions from that. Alright guys, that sums up the backwards movements tutorial. I hope that at least one of these movements was new to you, so you can go out and try it, play around with it. If you're still trying to work on the backflip, these movements are great for getting backwards awareness and becoming comfortable with just the feeling of falling backwards. There are more tutorials on the way, so I hope I will see you guys soon. Like, subscribe, comment, all of that. Suggestions are welcome. I would love suggestions on what tutorials to make next, and I will see you next time.